Ladies and gentlemen, come gather round, come gather round, come gather around. Today, I bought the worst trailer on Marketplace, and it gets worse the more you look at it. Let's go! So it's a 1984 U-built trailer. Here in beautiful British Columbia, you can get a trailer, you can make a trailer, get it insured as a U-built. If it's under 700 kilograms gross weight, you don't even need an inspection or a serial number or brakes or nothing, lights. And you can make it out of a trailer, or two, or possibly even three. This is a tilt trailer, and it looks like this was the original tongue. And then they welded to it, which was pivoting off of here. They made it into a tilt trailer. I don't know if you can see that underneath, but it'll tilt. And then they added another tongue for whatever drunken reason here, which is kind of weird. So it's a little bit odd. Plus, with these angles, it looks like the trailer used to end here and was angled, and that's probably where it stopped, which would be a nice place for the axle to be, kind of there with a little bit, so that would be nicely weighted. But now it's a very front-heavy trailer. Not the end of the world. I can only carry so much. But that was certainly not put together very well. Hokey fenders, but they are there. It's all 3/4 inch plywood. Definitely supportive taillights, no side markers, which is not currently legal. The guy added these because he was hauling like a bunch of beds or something. I bought it because it was advertised as a 4x8 trailer, which would be 48 by 96 inches. But what they meant by 48 by 96 was really 46 by 93. So you can't actually carry 4x8 anything in this trailer. Who would do that? So, because I want to be carrying plywood and drywall in here, I need to make this wider by like 3 or 4 inches. And none of the lights work. It's all rotten. So I got some work cut out for me, and like I need another project. So we're gonna get into this. First though, I don't have time to make this thing perfect. I do need to get this thing out to the garden shop to get some garden soil for my wife. And so I gotta get the lights going. Then we're gonna take it out, and then we're gonna cut it up. All right, carrying on. So I now have trailer lights. Ran around all the way to the back because you can't exactly anchor to this. You can't really hook to here and have that go through these crazy bolts and through the pins and the pivots. It's just not going to happen. So I ran this all the way to the back, hooked it up to the lights. I'm hooking it up here, and I had to add another one of these, but look at this. Let me get you some light in here. Can't imagine that being the most secure thing. So that's got to be fixed. This was only held in with one bolt. Lucky. All right, with lights that actually work, we took it out to Art Knapp's garden center, got a yard of garden dirt, hauled that home. Thing pulls nice, it's okay. I still need to lower the front because we've got like 4 tongues on it, and we're gonna alter that. But I also made a list. Where's my list? So I've got this list of things that I think I want to do to the trailer. One is make it actually hold 4x8 sheets. So what I'm going to do is cut all the sides off of this, and then probably go pick up a couple 4x8 sheets so I can have a new deck for this, and then build some sides for it. And I think what I'm also going to do is have the back, instead of lift out like it's designed, I'm going to have it like tip down. It's not going to be much of a ramp, but I can make it easily removable, and have the front tip down as well. Maybe chains on the back or something to give me a little bit more length, because there's the possibility I got to haul like 16 footers or something or whatever, and to be able to have the ability to haul something longer in here would be good. So we're going to cut it up and see what happens next. So here we go. So I got it all cut apart. There's a saying, it's ugly, but the bones are good. The bones are not good. Let me show you. So lots of play and worn out, but odd that there's a disc brake rotor on here because that holds the brake caliper. And that's where the lower ball joint would go, and the upper ball joint would be on here, and the steering arm with the tie rod end would have gone back there. So somebody welded spindles, and I'm pretty sure these are Chevette spindles because the wheels kind of look like Chevette wheels. So I have Chevy Chevette spindles, and I mean, they point straight and they have decent camber, and I don't know whether I should be proud or scared, but there we are. I'm not sure which of these necks. I mean, I've altered the main tongue to get it at a height that I want and give it a bit of a reinforcement. I put a handle on it that I'm probably going to have to cut off for this thing to tilt. Looks like just schedule 40, but not a heck of a really good weld or connection there. I want to change that to like a 1/2 inch bolt just to feel safer. But it's all cut down. So I got 2 sheets of pressure treated. There's a 4x8 out there, and then I had another one cut into 15-inch strips, which gives me a little bit extra, but that should give me 2 sides, a front and a back. And we're going to make it so you can actually fit this. So I'm going to try and make this 4 foot, probably like 50 inches, give or take, and we'll see how that goes. All right, carrying on. Everybody needs to have that one person who can come alongside them when they're making decisions and say, "What the heck do you think you're doing? Are you stupid?" I don't have those friends in my life, so it's really up to me, and I don't seem to notice them or stop. So here I am with pig-headed stubbornness and determination, trying to make sure I make the most out of the turd that I bought. I did run through my head about roughly what it would cost to build a whole trailer from scratch, and honestly, buying one is still a better way to go. There's kind of a going rate for what cheap trailers go for in these parts. And this is certainly on the low end of cheap. And I got what I paid for. So the sides are made from 1 inch by 1 inch angle, which widens the whole thing about 2 inches. The ends as well are done the same. I also shoved the back. You can kind of see it with the taillights. I shoved the back about 3.5 inches. The idea behind that is to get the deck a little bit better placed over the axle so the trailer's not quite so front heavy. So I moved the back as far back as I could go, measuring off of a sheet of plywood to make sure it'll fit. The front extensions I cut off. I redid those in 2x2, added some reinforcements to what's left of the frame, and then figured out what the sides needed to be. The corners I used, I believe, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, but they might be 1.5 inches. Probably 1.5 inches. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. But certainly more robust than the sides, because if I'm strapping something down, I want to have some rigidity to keep the sides from falling in. So these extend down a good 2 inches and are a little bit reinforced. At the back, they welded them to the taillights. At the front, I added some extra steel and some triangulation to give it some rigidity. With the sides cut out of, or cut to 15 inches, you can get 3 strips out of a 4x8 sheet. So in this way, I can repanel the whole thing with 2 sheets. And 15 inches leaves me a little bit left over. So I arranged it so these all fit. Excitingly, once it was all put together and painted, the sides had to get put in with a fair bit of some hammer strike to get them to fit, because things moved and changed and warped and sagged and whatever. Here we are. I keep telling myself it's a trailer to take to the dump. I did try to reuse as much of the original steel as I can. I like to be cheap that way, because steel doesn't exactly age, just make it look nice. I did use some new steel because I needed to, but put it together.
The corners for the deck and the sides and the front and rear gates, tailgate, front gate, they're not mitered. I'm not a woodworker. I cannot seem to miter a corner to save my life. Even when I reno a room in my house, the new door and window trim is not mitered like the original because I just plain can't do it. The hinges are the biggest, cheapest hinges I could find at Home Depot. They are galvanized metal. You do need to use like an etching primer over galvanized metal when you're painting them, but you should not be welding on galvanized metal. You'll know if it's galvanized because it gives off a significant white outer coating. I think it's the zinc when you're welding it. And it smells like sweaty onions. Don't breathe it in. It's not good. I do have a big honkin' barn fan in the peak of my vaulted ceiling and make up air at one end of the shop, so there is air moving along. And later you'll see me roll up the roll-up door just to get a bit more airflow because my barn fan is on a rheostat. Because if I don't open doors, the building will implode. In fact, if you have the fan on full and you're not expecting that, when you go to leave, that door is coming at you. So it's an effective little fan. I confess, while I have sandblasters and all kinds of things to do a good job of making sure it's all nice, I don't care. It is for doing dump runs, so I scuffed a bunch of the rust off with wire brushes, but honestly, I painted right over it with a rust paint. I added a bunch of extra reinforcements to try and make this thing rigid. You hear I'm cutting out adding some kind of extra stuff in there because the whole stupid frame flexes when you heave on this. Like, good heavens, I don't know what you're going to carry. It's all going to fall out the bottom. So I added a bunch of cross members and extra bars in there to give it some strength, which I later cut out because I really didn't think it all the way through and I was kind of matching what was there. And so none of it's really level or supportive or going to touch the deck. So, bah. It's all kind of garbage. I picked up a case of 50 flap discs, 60 grit flap discs on Amazon, which are just delightful for trimming things off. I'm always on the hunt for good, affordable flap discs that work well. Here I am cutting the front cross members out with my Sawzall, and I later will cut out the ones I just put in because I don't know how to do this. And then added some reinforcement in there as well. Yeah, see, here I'm redoing what I redid to redo what wasn't ever done. Blah.
Quick update on where we are so far. The front can have these to hold it together. Pull them out. That guy will come down and lay down like this so I can haul something really long. That's kind of in the way, but there's not a lot I can do about it. Put some handles on here so I can tilt the trailer, which make for excellent places to put your chains when not in use. Plink. Added reinforcement. I think it's about 2 inches here all the way down. I will likely put one on here. Haven't decided yet because it's a little bit flexible. We have a whole bunch of washers welded into places all along there to run and to clip the wiring to, so I can run all the wires hanging off the end. Updated some bolts, added some cross members that actually will touch. Back, same kind of thing. Couple clips up there and a clip over here. And then that can come down, and I got chains to hold it, which are normally tighter when it sits level, but apparently my hoist is not completely level. But there we are, coming together.
Oh, and a couple other things to show you. Here is the brake rotor, which was so off-center you couldn't balance it. The back shackles were held by a 1/2-inch bolt that's worn halfway through, so I machined some greasable sleeves so I can run an actual bolt that can be replaced. Also cut down some polyethylene round and stuffed it in the eye of the leaf springs. Will it make a difference? I don't know, but I feel better looking at it.
I honestly should have just built my own trailer instead of trying to save this turd, but this is the turd that I have. And I like my turd. So keep going.
And with a quick dust with a wire wheel on an angle grinder, knotted wheel actually, I use Tremclad Red Oxide Rust Primer this is a really impressive rust paint. It works fairly well and will seal it off pretty effectively. And it looks pretty cool. Not the color I'm going to keep, but red oxide. Then I'm just using Tremclad black. And I just paint the whole thing. And I'm using a multi-fiber, big fuzzy frilly roller, 4-inch roller on a stick, because it will give a nice texture and hide everything, and it's a thick coat of paint to hopefully get into all the nooks and crannies and seal it. I'm more interested in sealing it so that it doesn't rust too quickly than I am in making it look gorgeous for hauling junk to the dump. The boards will be a different color, so we're outside in the backyard painting it Tremclad gray, one of my favorites. So way back at the beginning of this video, I did add the corner markers on the trailer. But somehow in the comedy of putting this all together, the weld beads above from widening the whole thing got in the way of the side markers. So I got to drill and tap new holes. Now a friend showed me a cool trick of just putting the tap in the drill and just power it through instead of like half a turn, back it off, half a turn, back it off. And if you're willing to gamble with not breaking one of those off, there you go. And my buddy says the reason I break taps is because I don't put it in a drill. I'm not sure I believe him. However, it worked, and for an 832 tap, and I forget if it's a 22 or a 29 drill, it just freaking worked. So I power the drill through, power the tap through, and there it is. They're well protected, unlike my previous trailer. These hubs used to be brake rotors on a Chevette, but they were so badly off center that it didn't matter how you balanced your tires, these things are going to shake the snot out of you. So I cut the rotors off, machined them all concentric, and put them all back together. The wheels, I didn't even do any real prep. I just scraped the dirt off with the handle of the paintbrush and went for it. So this is probably not going to last, but I'm going to be okay. And then we're putting the wheels on. 3/4 inch socket. Rap, rap, rap. I do need to remember to change up the tire pressure because I know they're low. The board and the hammer is because, I'll be honest with you, I put it all together and stuff changed. Like maybe the trailer frame warped, or there's just so much paint on here that it just doesn't fit. So I would kind of squeeze the top end of the side panels in and then beat on the bottom to get it to fit. It's, I can lie to you and say, it was perfect. Nothing is perfect. And I show my wonderful disappointments with you guys because you keep coming back apparently, or at least 3 of you do. 2 coats of paint, top and bottom. The boards are painted gray. Obviously you can see that. I don't need to tell you that. I'm sorry. And I could not find my hitch mount. When I bought the trailer, I came home to get the hitch mount so I could bring the whole thing home, and I searched high and low and going, I have no idea where it went. I know where it went. It's on the back of the truck I sold that was pulling the trailer that matched it. So I made another one from a hitch mount that I had, but just plain wasn't long enough to fit the hidden hitch that I made on the truck and the crazy curved bumper that I put on it. So I needed a significantly longer hitch mount. So since I have 2x2 quarter wall, I just cut the useful end off of the old hitch mount and welded it to this one. Chamfered pretty heavily, and then set her up, clamp her down. I did 2 passes with TIG. I'm not a ticketed welder, but I figured I would be happier with a good hefty root pass with the TIG to make sure that it's definitely burned way down and all the way in. It kind of take your time on it. So I did 2 passes with TIG at 200 amps and then finished it off with MIG. There is quite a bit of weld on here, but I'm pretty convinced it's not going to break. I got good safety chains on there anyways. And then we make sure it fits. Scribe the inside where the hole needs to be. Off to the milling machine. Let's place that hole to 4 decimal places of perfection. which is completely overkill, which is the best kind of kill that you can have. And just drill it. I mean, the hole really needs to just be bigger than the pin you're putting through there. And I think it's a 5/8 pin, so you're going to need somewhat of a sloppy drilled hole. And etching primer, because I care. And instead of powder coating, which I have, or real paint that I have, I'm hosing it down with plastic coat with a brake clean nozzle on it because I wrecked the tip. So here it is in all of its glory. Nice. I removed one of the tongues, shortened the tongue, shortened the heights, the sides, that it's shorter. And I moved the entire deck back about 3.5 inches to get it a little bit better balanced. The front is now hinged as like a front gate, and then the back is now hinged as a tailgate instead of a lift-off sheet of plywood in cryptic little grooves of channel iron, angle iron, box steel, or whatever it is they did. Chevette spindles, welded precariously to square tubing, are still there, but prettied up, painted. I cut off the rotors, painted the hubs, packed the wheel bearings, tried not to look at the other wheel bearing because it's death. And all of this is painted in Tremclad gray. In the States, you don't have Tremclad. You've got Rust-Oleum, which is very similar. It's an Alkyd enamel, 1940s technology. We've also got tie downs. I'm going to look away so I don't trip on something. So 2-inch. It's 1 inch, 1x1 angle iron all around the perimeter with 2-inch flat drilled every 63 inches, whatever that is in metric. For tie downs, same thing on the front. Handles, 2 handles so I can get someone to help me while I unpin this, and then I can tilt the deck. Don't know if I'll ever need that. I will go through and grind off the ankle biters here, but I'll get to that at another point. Wired with a little bit better wiring all the way back and a decent actual ground. And here comes another Harley. Corner lights, because they were not on here, and while it was built in '84, corner lights have been required on trailers since the '70s, so those are put on. Kept these. I didn't even take these out, and they are actually like old school Chevy, 50s Chevy pickup taillights, although the date on this is actually not bad. I should probably see about tightening that. I cut a slot in here so that the indicator thing, the clear can shine up the license plate so we can see that. Here goes another Harley. Apparently we live in biker zone out here. I don't have a full bunch of bed bolts on here, certainly none in the middle because nothing in the middle is level, but usually you're carrying something, so I'm sure gravity will be my friend on this. And now I have a trailer that is better than having no trailer at all. And then we can get on to my son's '68 Pontiac Catalina. Hi! Oh yeah, we're over here. And he's just done plugs, points, condenser, cap, rotor, wires. It ran. We just got to set the spark timing and check the carbs, and then should be done. A full tune-up on that beast. As always, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again. Star Wars exit.